Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, we're going to continue looking at our lines, and hopefully by the end of this video, all of these lines that are losing us money, we can turn them into lines that are either making us money or losing us a lot less money. So the one line that I've sort of consistently see here a lot is this fuel line. It's actually the two fuel lines that run on this track here. And I'm not sure if it's because these cities are already getting enough of their fuel, or if this fuel refinery isn't producing enough fuel. So our goal is to sort of take a look at these lines, see if we can zoom out the time scale a bit. We can see there's been very few times where this train has actually run a profit. And when it does do that, it's probably because it's closer to a full load. And if we look at the other line, the same is sort of true for here, except this one's probably almost never run at a profit. So what we should probably do is take a look at these cities, and we can see that they could still use a little bit more fuel. However, I think that we just might simply not be covering enough area. So what we could do is we could add another truck stop here, and because that one's servicing a lot smaller of an area, we could probably only have maybe 3 cars on it that do something like that. So if we do something like that, they'll split all of this that's coming in here, and it'll help them sort of provide more for the city. And so if we come up to Brownsville got almost everything covered. We come in and take a look at the truck stop. There's maybe not really any more stations we could place that would optimize it too much. It's not really big enough to where we should replace it or rework it. I just think that maybe the trains are too big and it's just not getting enough fuel. Because if we look here, the transport is pretty much at 100%. Which I believe means that it can produce a lot more than what it's currently getting. So I think the bottleneck right now is the amount of oil it's receiving. However, I'm not seeing this number go to 0. So it might be that our shipment numbers aren't correct. That we need to make sure that we're shipping all of this when we can. Now, I'm not sure entirely if that's how the numbers work, so please correct me if that's not the case. And I think maybe instead of running 2 very long trains, maybe we get 3 or 4 shorter trains. It'd be really cool if we could get a long train like this to work, but I think for the distance and the sort of type of fuel, it's not really working out. So first of all, as we know, these trains are very expensive, so if we can find a cheaper alternative, that would be much better. However, the nice thing about these trains is that they can reach 75 miles an hour. and I believe our oil tankers, however, they can only do 50. So we're already wasting the sort of main feature of this train. And what we can do is, much like the other lines that we've been making recently, using this Russian class FD, this train seems to be very good at pulling things up hills, and its max speed is also 50. So we could have two shorter trains that perform just as well and cost about half as much. So we can see that this one has used up to 120 capacity before. So if we get this to 100 capacity and then replace the other train with the same thing, we'll want to do the same thing for this line, as this one as well has been operating largely not full. So coming in here, replace the locomotive, and instead get a train with about 108 capacity. We should be able to operate at about the same numbers. Now if anything starts to suffer, or we think maybe we should break this up more, we can do that. We will just need to keep an eye on this and make sure everything looks good. So we'll give that a few minutes to cycle through. And I believe if we could replace all of these again. Now this oil refinery should start to operate much better. And over here, it's just trying to get rid of as much as possible. I think what we'll do is we'll add maybe a large cargo building, just because these trucks are starting to get to the point where it could take almost an entire platform's worth of oil in one go. So we'll want to make sure that it can stockpile that much. And it looks like this is outputting as much as possible. We almost have all of these maxed out, which is sort of what we want. Alright, so coming back to this goods line that we upgraded recently, it looks like now our bottleneck is the trucks bringing the goods into town. First, we just want to make sure that our truck stop covers the entire area, which it looks like it does, which is just great for us. However, we will definitely want to add probably a lot more trucks, as this line's going to get very busy. And then if we can manage these and replace all these with newer trucks. So now coming back here, we can take a look at what still is losing us money, and we can see these numbers are down a lot more. We hardly have any lines that are losing us money, and the ones that are, it's very little. One thing that's interesting is that this train keeps sort of popping in here. I think that might just be a weird thing that goes on with the timing, as I don't think that's something that happens often. But one that hasn't really gotten out of here much is this passenger line here. This one that goes between Clearwater and Alexandria. And I believe that this is a much similar case as to what was happening before, where we're sort of competing against ourselves. If we look at the destinations thing, this road here only has about 10, where this train line has well over 1,000. So people are much rather take the train than this bus route. So I think that just simply means that we can get rid of that line. It was a nice bus line while we had it, but it's not really making us anything. And so now, something I've just noticed, well, some of these passenger bus stops have way too many people waiting for them. So we could probably afford to add a few more buses onto those lines. I'd say probably 4 more. We can get those in on the Clearwater passenger line, and those will sort themselves out. So now coming in here, we have very few lines that are losing us money. This one's a bit odd though. We only have 3 trucks on a fuel line. Ah, I see. That's this line here that we just recently added. So I'm not too sure if we should change this one yet or not. We might just let this one be for now and see if it starts to sort itself out. But for the most part, it looks like all, if not most, of our trains or our lines are making us a profit. I don't think we're going to be able to get these all sort of in the blue just because of how the sort of timing works and when it sort of takes this check. Because we've checked these lines before and they're obviously making us money. It's just a matter of timing. Although this one's a bit odd. The Clearwater food line. It's just, I think it's just simply not taking full loads of food, which is a bit weird. However, I think maybe something as simple as replacing all of these trucks might solve that. So those will be able to carry much more than the ones we had on before, and they'll be able to travel a lot quicker. However, this train could probably do with being replaced, as it's one of our older trains. So we could come in here. This one doesn't really have to be an expensive train. It's a very short trip. If we can get something that's nice and cheap. Maybe we can see what kind of stuff we can get from this tiny locomotive. Only goes 50 miles an hour. However, we do have these new box cars that can go 75. So let's maybe see if we can get something that goes a little bit quicker. Or about a similar price. This train here operates pretty cheap. So we'll see if this train with maybe just a few, we don't need that many box cars. Let's see how that goes. So now this will be able to go a bit quicker, carry a bit more. Although we'll want to make sure that we are reaching the area that needs the food, which I'm not entirely sure if we are. So I think what we'll do is we'll put a truck stop here. We'll build a truck station. We might build it right next to the sort of existing bus stop. If we can squeeze it in here, we might have to push it around the corner. And do something like that. And then set up a truck line. We can get some of these. That'll carry the bread into a more beneficial area of the city. If we go from there, just a few feet away, and hopefully I'll be able to do a lot more. Alright, so another line I've sort of noticed that's a bit weird is this Clearwater fuel line. I think it can make us profitable, but I think we're just simply running too many trucks at this point. If we look, we no longer have the huge buildup that we've had before. And a lot of the trucks that are coming for it don't leave with a full load. So I think what we could do is probably come in here, select maybe 5 or 6 of these, and just simply sell them. That'll help free up some of this traffic, as well as make sure that we're running at max efficiency with those. And this little train here, I just noticed, really struggles. This is one of our oldest trains, I think, that we have running. I don't think it, yeah, 34 years. This is quite an old train. So what we're going to do is we're just going to replace it. It needs replaced. So we'll do this Russian class FD. And we'll throw on let's throw on 5 tank cars. Now hopefully I'll start to become a bit more profitable. I'll be able to handle this hill going back up a little bit better, as it's quite steep. You can see there. Yeah, everything looks to be running just well. So quickly, we're going to add a cargo building to here. We'll add 3 of them, because this might get very busy soon. Just so we don't lose goods at this station, and we can continue to operate while we wait for the next train load. So let's see if... It doesn't seem like this train's going to be able to get another full load. And I'm not entirely sure what the issue is here, as it has the steel and the plastics it needs. And I believe it should... We'll see if the steel runs out by the time the next train comes. But it shouldn't really have any issues producing more goods. Alright, so I sort of sat here and watched the factory and sort of see what happens with these numbers, and we do run out of steel before the next load comes in. However, I think another way that we can help sort of draw more production out of this factory is by shipping some of these goods into Green Bay. So this will be sort of the last thing we do this episode, but we're gonna start to really overhaul this goods factory. So it's going to start here at the steel mill, and I think we just need to simply bring in more coal, more iron. We're going to see what kind of train this is. We'll clone it, and we will sort of space it out on this track, and then we'll reconfigure these iron trains as well. We'll pause this train, let this one sort of at least reach this station, so then they'll be spaced out a bit more evenly. And then I believe we have 2 trains on the iron mine. And so if we just simply replace those with a much bigger, much stronger train, we should have little to no issues there. So if we simply come in here and do the same things we did for the coal, add the Russian class FD with, we actually have these larger gondolas. I think we could probably add a few of these. Let's do that. See what this train will start to bring in for us. We come up here and watch this one. So each can carry 96. And these can carry almost twice as much. So we might need a little bit more on the iron mine side just because this line is a bit shorter. Well, you can see here this easily gets a full load. And I think we will just simply add another train here. We'll clone it. Have it come out from the depot. We'll let these go, and then we'll take a look at what our production comes out after that. Alright, so now we've sort of overhauled the stuff coming to the steel mill. We can see it's already getting ready to upgrade, which is great news for us. And if we take a look at this train, it has just picked up a full load of steel, which is exactly what we want. And now even this goods factory is getting ready to upgrade. So, sort of another way to help boost production here. We're gonna add a truck stop. Actually, I think that's a truck stop. And then we'll want a unload stop right here where all the goods are in Green Bay. Now it's not much right now, but something like this can really help start to boost the production of a place like that. So I think we'll get 10 trucks and have them go from this goods factory into Green Bay. So now those trucks will make their way down here, and hopefully all of these trains will start to, well, this train hopefully will start to make more of a profit as this goods factory upgrades. which it probably will any second now. And so that's pretty much going to be all that we're going to do in this episode. Looking back here, we've definitely reduced this. I don't think it's realistic to expect all of these numbers to be blue. However, the best that we can do is get these numbers as low as possible, which I feel like we've done. And if for some reason these don't work out, we can always come back and re-diagnose them later. But if we take a look at the trends that are making us money, a lot of our biggest money makers are our passenger lines, specifically the ones with these Class A4s. Yeah, we're almost at $1 billion, which is a huge milestone, and I don't think money's really an issue, probably for the rest of this series. So that's going to be all for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any feedback or suggestions, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.